What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Oh, you guys, welcome back to another edition of Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown, and I'm here all the time. You guys, today is a beautiful day. It's a cold day. It's a chilly day. I'm wearing my Bugs Bunny hoodie because it's in my office, in my studio. It's a little chill. But you know where it's not a little chill? Actually, I have no idea what the weather is like on the other side of the country, which is where today's guest is from. Ladies and gentlemen, helping me talk about movies and movie news and kind of help create this online community where we all just come together and talk about our favorite things in the world. A very good friend of mine. I've known this guy for years. He's a fellow improviser. We met. Where did we meet? Was it Alaska? It was either Alaska or Utah. I can't remember. Maybe it was, who knows? We travel around together. We meet up at festivals. We play. We philander. Is that a thing? I'm not sure. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for a very good friend of mine, Mr. Rolland Lopez.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Yeah. Oh, great to be here. Thank you so much.
Rolland, you live in Los Angeles. What's the weather like this morning?
I have no idea. I haven't left my apartment in weeks.
Does the sun even exist?
I believe so. I can see it's a little lighter outside than it would be if I were sleeping. Yeah.
Well, Rolland, thanks so much for jumping on the show today. Like I said,
thanks for inviting me.
Dude, like you are a wealth of knowledge. I know. So I'm a movie guy, but you're a TV guy. Besides being an improviser and a TV guy, tell us a little bit about yourself and like what is it about like storytelling in film and television that draws you to the art form?
To which art form? Are we talking improv or are we talking watching TV?
I think just storytelling in general.
I think it started a long time ago when I was a kid, when I realized I could just sit on my butt and just watch TV and not do anything. And I kind of liked it. And it kind of grew into something, and now I do it as an adult. No, but I have, you know what? I've seen a lot of look, like a lot of Americans, I've seen a lot of television over the years, and I am often surprised at how good it can actually be. Watching shows where the character development surprises you, where the shows, you grow up. If you stay alive long enough, you end up having had watched a lot. And so for a TV show to still surprise me and go, wow, I haven't seen this before, even after decades of viewing, like that's pretty impressive. There is a lot of garbage on TV that I don't bother watching, but there are still a lot of good storytelling. And with all the streaming services that currently exist and each one trying to push their own original content, you find that it's forced writers and producers to kind of create things that are better than what we would have had 20 years ago.
That's a great point. I mean,
that's my take.
Ever since television shows like Sopranos and Sex and the City, and
that's kind of what people consider as the turning point of like people going, oh, TV can be so much better than what we normally watch.
I mean, I still Frasier is still my all-time favorite show. There's just something about that sitcom that is just, it's clever, it's smart, it's funny, it's timeless. Does everything hold up? No, but the comedy does. The comedy does. Sure. And it was such a clever show, and like just for my own personal watching habits, it's one of the classiest shows. It's the show that is most familiar and comfortable to me, and I keep going back to that well over and over and over again. But at the same time, I also understand that like that style of storytelling is not how we operate anymore.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, personally, I was never a fan of Frasier, and I tried. There are a few shows that are kind of heralded as perennial favorites, shall we say? Like everybody loves these shows, like Frasier, like Arrested Development, like
Friends,
Scrubs, and
Seinfeld,
yeah,
MASH.
and I have tried. the ones you're listing are the ones that I did like. The ones that I'm listing are the ones that I don't agree with the rest of the world. Seinfeld, I think, is great. I do think a lot of the humor is dated in the sense of it doesn't quite work with 21st century attitudes and mores,
sure,
shall we say? But but if you can put yourself back in the age of the 90s, I think that humor still holds up if you can watch it unedited and uncut, right? If you can watch the full half hour versus.
Oh man, I would love to see Seinfeld unedited, uncut. Like, can we just have that as a show, which actually may end up being Curb Your Enthusiasm? That actually, maybe that's what that show is.
That's another show I couldn't stand because I have to like the main character. I have to actually care about the people that I'm watching, which is why I couldn't get into Arrested Development, because I found myself not rooting for anybody on that show.
Ooh. See, I think
I need to root for someone.
I love Arrested Development just for that reason. Like, everybody's terrible. Michael was probably... Guys, we're going to get into movie news in just a second, but we need to talk about Arrested Development first.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, the storytelling, and I'm only keeping this to the first 3 seasons. Season 4 was weird. Season 5 redeemed it a little bit, but by that point, it's like Dumb and Dumber 2. I contest Dumb and Dumber 2 is a perfect sequel to Dumb and Dumber, but it was 20 years too late. That comedy did not hold up the year that it came out. It needed to come out in 1996 or something like that for it to work.
Later. Yeah.
Same thing with Arrested Development. But I mean, like, I don't know. I love the construction of it. I love to. It's one of those shows that you love to hate the characters because everybody's just so awful.
Now, see, it's funny because I could say that everybody is awful in Rick and Morty. And yet I love Rick and Morty. And so I don't know what, so I feel like my qualification of like, well, I don't like any of the characters and I can't root for anybody. All of a sudden I'm being hypocritical because I love Rick and Morty, and I think that's great. For those of you, I'm gonna lift up and move my camera for a second.
Well, tell you what.
To show, you see my Halloween, those are 2 characters there from Halloween. Those are Halloween masks I made for Halloween a couple years. That's Mr. Look at me, Mr. Meeseeks, and a Noob from Rick and Morty. So I'm a big Rick and Morty fan.
Oh man, Rick and Morty is just what a great show. And I haven't seen any of the new stuff that they've just put out on HBO Max, I believe. But looking forward to it. And something you guys should be looking forward to is subscribing to the YouTube page. You guys, if you haven't already done so, head over to YouTube, type in Gotta Love Them Movies. In the top right-hand corner, you're going to see a little red subscribe button. Go ahead and click that button. What clicking that button does is it helps us to widen our subscriber base. But Mike, we're watching this on Facebook Live. Why do we have to go over to YouTube and click on your subscribe channel? Great question, Philip. Thanks for asking. With the more subscriptions to the channel we get, the more watch content the channel gets. The more watched content the channel gets, the more I get to qualify for ad revenue, and I get to make this show, my full-time job. So I really appreciate that. And as well, don't forget, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, this show will be moving from Facebook to YouTube. So just something to keep on your radar there. All right, guys, with that done and out of the way, it's time to take a little bit of movie news.
What?
What?
All right, you guys, let's talk about a little bit of movie news. And our very first bit of news, guys, we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. So we're going to have to bang through this stuff pretty quickly. There's been a lot of talk ever since the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman. And it's tragic for so many reasons. He was a young man. I understand cancer knows no bounds, but he was one of those actors that was, everybody loved him. You say Chadwick Boseman, and his name alone just lights up any kind of a room, right? I don't know of anybody that just didn't like his style of acting. I am personally not a fan of the movie Get On Up. I don't think it was a very good movie. I don't think it was edited very well. But Chadwick Boseman's portrayal as James Brown was genius. It was flawless. It was spectacular. Same thing with 42, Jackie Robinson. Same thing with Black Panther. And, numerous other, 21 Bridges, numerous other roles that he's played. Everybody unanimously loves Chadwick Boseman. So, of course, in the wake of his passing, a lot of people have been asking the question, what is going to happen to the character of Black Panther? We know they're just not going to, stop doing Black Panther movies. Such a popular character. It was $1 billion movie. It was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. First time a comic book movie has ever been nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Fantastic. So they're not just going to stop making Black Panther movies. The question is, how are they going to handle Black Panther moving forward? I know a lot of people were saying it's disrespectful to his memory to recast and put another actor in that role. You guys, Chadwick Boseman does not own the role of Black Panther. He doesn't own that. It doesn't belong to him. Same way Sean Connery does not own the role of James Bond. They just don't. A lot of people were saying, well, instead of recasting, they should just let his younger sister, Black Panther's younger sister, Shuri, take on the mantle of Black Panther. She does in the comics. And this situation kind of lends itself to maybe telling that story. Could be, maybe, who knows? But another option that people were exploring is, what if we did a CGI deep fake, rendering of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, as Black Panther? Maybe we could do it that way. I know I am not alone in this opinion in saying we're not there yet, you guys. The technology that exists, while yes, wow, the de-aging process that Marvel has used to de-age Michael Douglas and Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury, and numerous others, is incredible. But to do a fully rendered CGI version of a human face, we're not there yet. It looks weird. We saw it in Rogue One with Grand Moff Tarkin. We saw it with Carrie Fisher's Princess Leia. It just looks weird. It doesn't look perfect. And I think if they were to do that for Chadwick Boseman in the next Black Panther movie, it would look too bizarre, and it would take people out of the story, knowing that it's not actually Chadwick Boseman, knowing that he passed away. So very recently, and I want to say this was yesterday. When is five? Wow, this article was 5 days old. Sorry, guys, I am way behind on my movie news. One of the executive producers, had this to say about the possibility of CGI replacing Chadwick Boseman. She said, no. There's only one Chadwick, and he's not with us. Our king, unfortunately, has died in real life, not just in fiction. And we're taking a little time to see how we return to history and what we do to honor this chapter of what has happened to us that was so unexpected, so painful, so terrible, really. Yeah. So, I mean, it's unequivocal. They're not going to be doing a CGI version of Chadwick Boseman. This lifts my heart. This lifts my spirits a little bit. Rolland, you've seen the Black Panther movie. You've seen a whole bunch of the Marvel movies.
Yeah. Not just a bunch. I've seen them all.
You know what's going on in the MCU.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on? Because I don't think anybody really wants a CGI Chadwick Boseman. That just looks weird. We're not there yet. And I think that, a lot of people are clamoring, it's disrespectful to recast. I think it's even more disrespectful to do a CGI version. Where do you stand on this, and what would you like to see moving forward?
Okay. Here's the thing. Black Panther is a tentpole character in the MCU.
Correct.
Now, this is all just my
Correct.
opinion, of course, but he is a main freaking character. If, for example, now look, I have to give it up to whoever does casting, and I don't remember her name, um, for the MCU, because they have done a phenomenal job of picking the right actors for these roles. I can't imagine, for example, anybody else other than Paul Rudd playing Ant-Man right now. Couldn't do it, right? He's so great at that role.
He's perfect.
But if Paul Rudd, and it would be a national tragedy if it happened, but if Paul Rudd were to pass away and they said, we're going to recast Ant-Man, I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. I probably may or may not like that person as good as Paul Rudd, but I'm okay with that. But recasting, say, Tony Stark, someone who started the MCU back in 2008 and who's been in probably the most number of movies and who's been kind of the center point for a lot of storylines, that would be difficult for me to accept, that they replace that actor, the recast Tony Stark. And Black Panther has had such a huge impact, not just the movie itself having a huge impact, but having a huge impact culturally on America, right? Now, I'm Latino, so I can't speak for what it is like being an African American in the United States watching the first MCU black hero in an almost all black cast except for one person. I can't speak to that, or two people, I guess. I can't speak to that, but I am aware that there was a huge cultural movement that happened because of him playing it. And I think that character meant so much, and that actor playing that character meant so much, that I do think recasting is probably not the best way to go. I wouldn't do it. I don't see how you can. I think people would feel that it was, like, you use the word disrespectful. And it's weird to say, because I get your point about James Bond being recast all the time, but it does feel like it would be disrespectful.
Now,
at least right now.
Let me ask you this, because, and I understand that. Like, I've heard this argument before. I totally acknowledge it and I understand it. I just don't necessarily agree with it, and here's why. I feel that, because you talk about the huge cultural impact of this character. My argument is that it's the character. It's the telling of the story. If the movie was just not a good movie, would it have still had as deep of an impact? If the script wasn't there, if the directing wasn't there, if the acting level, if the performances didn't land where they did, would we still feel the same about Chadwick Boseman playing the character in that scenario as we do in our current reality? Because again, I would argue that it's the character. It's not the person playing the character. It's the writing. It's the portrayal. It's the direction. And also, let's just step back for a second and take into consideration, here's this huge machine, the Marvel machine, the MCU machine. And Black Panther was the 18th, 16, 17, or 18, somewhere through there.
It was up there. Yeah.
It had been, this machine had been fully functioning for quite some time. And then they introduced, first of all, they introduced Black Panther, and then it was a few more movies later until he got his own standalone film. So here's this huge machine. I don't want to say he's a cog in the machine, but he's a really big cog in this machine. As you pointed out, Iron Man. But then again, the same thing within the MCU realm, they've also recast The Incredible Hulk. They recast Rhodey when Terrence Howard left, or rather when he was. That whole situation was weird, but yeah. So when they recast War Machine, there have been other recastings, and I don't think it's outside of the realm of impossibility to say, if you get another actor who is a Chadwick Boseman level, I've heard a lot of people saying John Boyega. I don't like John. I don't dislike John Boyega. Let me be clear here. I just don't think he's a strong enough actor to replace Chadwick Boseman. But if we can find another actor who is on that same kind of gravitas level, like possibility of getting another Academy Award level actor to replace him and give it, a proper amount of morning time. Like, if they were to announce it tomorrow, way too soon. Give it a year? Yeah, maybe.
I think you just nailed on it right there. Because if we're talking just the movie alone, you're right. We could probably recast it. The problem is Chadwick Boseman passed away unexpectedly, right? Nobody saw it coming. We all then found out that he had been fighting cancer all those years, and which means he had been he did Black Panther during his fight, and Endgame and Infinity War during his fight, which makes him himself a freaking hero.
Not to mention all the other films that he was working on in between those.
Sure, right, and but also Black Panther, as you said, like got nominated for an award. People were still basking in the movie's aura when we found out that Chadwick Boseman passed away. I think that mourning period may be longer for this movie than others. So down the road, if they wanted to recast it, I can see that not being as much of an issue. But right now, you talk about recasting Chadwick Boseman, and I have this internal thing. I'm like, no, I don't want that to happen. And it's because of everything surrounding it, not just the fact of recasting a big character like Black Panther.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Like, and you can even use Jeopardy as kind of a model for that as well.
Yeah.
Stephanopoulos has thrown his hat into the ring. There's a huge online movement to get LeVar Burton into the role, and there's also a lot of people saying Ken Jennings because he's the all-time winner of Jeopardy. So, is it too soon? I don't know.
But we all knew that he was fighting pancreatic cancer, right? He talked about his fight. So we had already known this was coming, or we weren't surprised. We might have all been saddened over the loss of Alex Trebek, but I couldn't say I woke up and read the news and was surprised that it happened. So I don't feel the same way that I do that we all got caught unawares that Chadwick Boseman was facing this problem and died from it.
I agree.
I think that's what happened. We got the rug was pulled from under everybody with Boseman's death.
I agree. But I think we can all agree that we are unanimous. I keep wanting to say unanimously, which I know is not how you say
it. You can say it. You can say it. You can add as many syllables as
we can
you
all
want.
unanimously agree that CGI Chadwick Boseman is just not the way to go. Question is for you guys, what do you think about this? How do you think they're going to handle the Black Panther situation moving forward, or the recasting, or the rewriting of the script or the role? What do you think the MCU is going to do? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on to our next bit of movie news today. Kind of loosely keeping on the heels of Black Panther, Ryan Coogler being one of the the director of Black Panther. Ryan Coogler's other property, also starring Michael B. Jordan, was Creed. Creed 2 being taken... You can see my line of thought here. Creed 2 being taken over in the directing chair by Stephen Caple Jr. Now, Stephen Caple Jr. Has been... He hasn't been hired yet. He's currently in talks to be the next director of the Transformers movie franchise. Whether he's going to do multiple films or whether it's just going to be a one-off, that is yet to be seen. But here, as Deadline reports, if we can scroll down just a moment, right in the beginning, following the lengthy search, Paramount Pictures and Hasbro Studios have set Stephen Caple Jr. to direct the new Transformers pick in the reinvented universe. There's a lot to unpack right there, but yeah. So I mean, oh man. So okay, let's just I'm sorry, I keep vamping. What is it that I'm trying to say? Let's finish this article, shall we? Insiders add, while negotiations have yet to begin, another important thing to think about, he is top choice among studio execs and producers, and a deal should close in the coming weeks. After meeting with several top execs, including Paramount Motion Picture President Emma Watts, the studio saw Capel as the best fit for the franchise, that the studio chose to revamp at the top of the year. So there's a few things going on here. First and foremost, if you are a fan of the Transformers universe, apologies, because they're terrible movies, except for Bumblebee. I really enjoyed Bumblebee. I thought it was great. The first Transformers movie, all the rest of them, complete garbage. In my opinion, all film is subjective. Maybe if you're watching this video and you love the Transformers franchise, good for you. I'm glad. I don't share those same sentiments. But here's the thing. So first and foremost, Paramount has decided to revamp, quote unquote, revamp their Transformers universe. What does this mean? First of all, nobody knows. Does it mean they're going to push the reset button? Does it mean they're going to jump off the heels of Bumblebee? They're going to, kind of take it in the direction that Bumblebee took? Are they just going to do something completely different? Is Beast Wars being introduced? Nobody knows right now, because we don't, this is the information that we have. We know that they're revamping. We don't exactly know what kind of revamping this is going to take. Additionally, here, let me jump back into the article for a second, because they talk about who is being tapped as a screenwriter. In the very next paragraph, in January, the studio made the decision to give the entire franchise a revamp by having two simultaneous scripts that are in active development, one by James Vanderbilt and one by Joby Harold. Harold's film eventually would be chosen as the next installment in the franchise, and once he had been given the final touches on the script at the end of the summer, the studio began talking director pitches on the film. Okay, so we know the Paramount wants to go in a completely different direction than the Transformers films. The Michael Bay Transformers films had been going. They really, really like Stephen Capel Jr. We also know that Stephen Capel Jr. wants the job. He wants to be the next Transformers director. His only real big film he has under his belt right now is Creed 2. It was okay. Not a terrible film. It wasn't as good as the first one, but, pretty solid, pretty good. The studio likes his style. They think that he's the perfect fit for this, and he wants the job. Now they just have to negotiate. That's what, in talks means. They have both come to a decision. He's the one that they want. He wants the job. Now they have to hash out the specifics of the deal. How much is he going to get paid? Residuals, blah, 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 all that stuff. Royalties, all that stuff, right? So they're working out a deal. We also know that there were two different scripts written for this new rebooted universe of Transformers, and they went with Joby Harold's script. Joby Harold, if you are not familiar, let me run through his filmography for you really quick. I had this earlier and I closed the window. Apologies. Joby Harold. There we go. Okay. So Joby Harold, it has written two films that have already come out so far. Awake from 2007. Not a great movie. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, starring, the dude from, Charlie Hunnam. Sorry, Charlie Hunnam. Not a great movie. Really not a great movie. But here's the thing. Let's look at his upcoming projects. He's currently working on Army of the Dead with, Zack Snyder. He has been tapped, or rather the studio is going with his Transformers movie. He's doing an Untitled Twilight Zone project. He's working on the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And he's doing an Untitled Space Mountain project for Disney. Not to mention, he has a few other credits on here. So, I mean, things that have still yet to come out. So that says to me, he's had two huge flops. Two huge flops that have already come out and are now public knowledge. But he's also been hired to work on some really big, high-profile things. Twilight Zone. Space Mountain, which, okay, arguably, who cares about Space Mountain, right? But Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's working with Zack Snyder right now on the Army of the Dead movie. And now it looks like the studio is going to go with his script for the new Untitled Transformers. I'm tentatively calling it Transformers 7. Who knows what it's going to be called? Probably not 7. They're going to go in a completely other different direction. All of this is very, very interesting to me. Rolland, what does any of this mean to you? Now again, I know that you're a TV guy. You're more into TV than you are movies. But like,
you gave us so much. I don't know what to respond to.
That's the thing. There's so much here. Paramount wants this guy. This guy wants the job. Is he an acclaimed director? No. He's got like one big credit under his name. He's done it like a whole bunch of indie films. This could be a really cool thing. There are so many unknown variables going on right now. This could be the coolest thing ever, or this could tank so hard. What are your general thoughts going on here?
Okay. I actually jotted down a few things as you were talking. So I am not a fan of the Transformers series in general. I loved the cartoon growing up, but I found the Michael Bay aspect of these movies to be a little too much Michael Bay for me.
What?
That said, yeah, I did. Also, yeah, and also I was always bothered from the very first movie that how detailed they made kind of the Autobots and Decepticons themselves. Like they made them too detailed. It was so far away, so far removed from how they were drawn in the cartoons that it was too much for me. But that might just be me personally, and maybe I'm getting old.
That was all of us.
All right. But I loved Bumblebee. I enjoyed that. And I thought that and I got excited when you first started this segment, when you were saying that it's going off of the new franchise or the revamp. And if they follow the Bumblebee path, I'm actually interested in that. If they go down the Transformers Last Night?
Gross.
Final Night?
No.
Yeah. If they go down that path, then I'm not going to watch it. I saw Creed. I saw Creed 2. I enjoyed Creed 2. I don't think it was as good as Creed, but I don't think it could be as good as Creed. It's tough to take. Creed did a really great job of restarting that series. I don't see how any Creed 2 could have been as good as the initial Creed. So I don't fault him for that. I'm excited to see where this is going. I get your point about the script writer. There are a lot of pieces to making a good movie. I think if they go down the Bumblebee path with this director and a decent script, I think we might have something worth watching. I don't know if it'll be something amazing, but I also do think there's been enough Transformer films and there's enough Transformer fans that it could be garbage and people will still go see it.
I mean, I feel that is the case for a lot of franchise films. Could be complete garbage, but hey, it's got Star Wars on it, so I'm going to go see it. Them's fighting words.
This is your show. Yeah, this is your show. But Star Wars is unique. Find me another series that started 40 years ago that completely changed the face of movies, that completely ushered in a brand new type of summer blockbuster that didn't exist prior to that. Although some people say Jaws started it, but find me another series that does that, and then we can talk about like using Star Wars as an example of these other franchises. Like that doesn't exist. So
I'm sorry, but Spectre was a complete
Spectre was awful.
Heaping pile of garbage.
unless you're a huge fan of seeing James Bond walk slowly in different locations for long stretches of time. If that's your thing, you're gonna love that
Sullen.
movie.
He was just
But
sullen.
it was awful. Absolutely, it
So
was
bad.
awful. But you're right. I will go watch the next James Bond film.
And you know,
You're
I've been
right.
saying this.
I will.
I am not looking for. I'm looking forward to seeing No Time to Die because I'm a James Bond fan. But based on the trailers, based on the press releases, based on the song by Billie Eilish, I am not looking forward to seeing this movie. It does not look good to me. It might be. It might be the best Bond yet. I don't think it will be. I mean, we'll just have to wait and find out, just like with Transformers. And the big question for you guys is, what are your thoughts about this new Transformers movie news with the new director, with the script writer? Do you think this is a good direction? And what direction do you think the story is going to go in? Do you think they're going to piggyback off of the success of Bumblebee and go in that direction? Or do you think it's going to be something completely new, completely different that we haven't seen before? Just push the reset button, jump on down to the comment section below, and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, we have a bit of television news, which is right up Roland's alley here. It would appear Variety I think it was Variety that broke the news last night. Conan O'Brien is ending his TBS late night talk show. He, as of sometime next year, he's done, and he's going to move over to HBO Max and start a brand new variety show. We have almost no details about what this is or what this means, but I think it's interesting. Let's jump into the article real quick. As Variety points out, Conan O'Brien will end his self-titled TBS late night talk show Conan in June of 2021. The announcement marks an end to an 11-year run. Moving forward, O'Brien has signed a deal with HBO Max for a new weekly variety series, though no premiere date has been set. And that's all we know. That's it. That's all we know. Rolland, I think this is sad, but I also think this is incredibly exciting. Conan O'Brien has become a staple of late night television. He is, I dare say, the most... when I say popular, I don't want to say he's the most popular of all the late night talk show hosts, because everybody has their brand. Some people are Kimmel fans, some people are Fallon fans, some people love Colbert and John Oliver. That's fine. But I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to say that Conan O'Brien has revolutionized the late night talk show industry from the late 80s, early 90s when he started doing, well, I get in late 80s, he was still doing Simpsons, but in the 90s when he got his late night talk show, he has been around for 25, almost 30 years doing late night television, including a brief run on The Tonight Show, which was a total bum rap. But him jumping ship with TBS and going over to HBO Max may not be good for TBS. That actually may be catastrophic for TBS. But in terms of the direction that the world is headed in streaming, I mean, we're hot and heavy right in the middle of the streaming wars right now. HBO Max, Netflix, Apple TV Plus, Hulu, Disney Plus, just keep listing them off. There's a ton. I think this is a great thing for HBO Max. I think this is great. And to make it a variety series means that the Conan O'Brien is not restricted to the late night talk show format. We've already seen him start to break out of the late night talk show format as he kind of revamped his show, like about a year and a half ago, where it's a little bit more casual, laid back. Everybody sips their coffee. He's wearing a jean jacket every night instead of like a suit. I think that's really cool, really casual. He could do some really cool things here. I don't know. Am I deluding myself? Is this a terrible thing, or is this something that, we can get excited about?
I think you nailed it. I think at this point, and I'm going to use a phrase that I hate hearing when I hear people talk about stuff like this. He's a proven entity. I hated hearing that coming out of
it's like
coming
saying
out of my mouth.
living legend.
Right. But he is. I mean, whether you like him or not, whether you watch his stuff or not, you can't deny how strong of a talk show host he's been over these years. And I've not watched a lot of his stuff lately, but the stuff that I've seen on YouTube clips makes me, I realize like, oh, this guy's still phenomenal after all these years. And I think giving him the opportunity to do something different, like I want to see that creativity. I want to see what Conan O'Brien can do, given fewer, as you said, like that talk show format, getting out of those restrictions. I want to see what he can do because I bet you it's going to be great.
Well, I mean, look at what he did in the 90s when he was still doing late night. All of those segments of like, man, my brain is shutting down right now. I remember a segment in the 90s where he went to Ireland just to see how much he could drink, because he's an Irish Catholic. So we just went from town to town to town just to see how much he could drink. On TBS, we've been seeing Conan Without Borders, where he travels around the world.
That is fantastic.
So cool.
Conan with that's been amazing.
So fun.
Yeah.
All the stuff that he does with Jordan Schlonsky, and of course, Jordan Schlonsky is the star of all of those segments. It's not Conan; it's Jordan Schlonsky, right. And it only works because it's the odd couple pairing, right? Who was the oh man,
Triumph, the insult comic
yes,
dog.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
I mean, like he did a lot of like really fun, inventive bits and segments in the 90s, and I would love to see a lot of those come back. I mean, he still continues on, but it's not the primary focus of what he does now. Do you think that we can see more stuff like that in the future?
From him?
Yeah, from Conan.
I mean, I sure hope so. I think he probably has a lot of. I like to think he has a lot of ideas stored up. I hope this isn't a. I've run out of ideas. Let me jump ship. That would be bad but I can't imagine. HBO Max HBO is a pretty big name. I do think you're right. I think in these streaming wars that we happen to be in, and by the way, I think the big losers of the streaming wars is us. I mean, I keep having to shell out additional money. I'm now paying more for streaming than I am for other stuff. Like, it's ridiculous.
Do you remember growing up in the 90s when like you looked at people who paid for the subscription to HBO and Cinemax, and you're like, wow, you have so much money. You get to pay like another $20 a month to watch anything you want on HBO. And now here we are paying like $60, $70 for all of the different services.
I think it's cute you thought I was growing up in the 90s. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. I saw Star Wars in the theater live, first run. Yeah.
We're the same. We're both born in 1982, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Uh-huh.
There it is.
Yeah. No way was I an adolescent.
You're still in your 30s.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's harder and harder to find stuff that I enjoy, new stuff that I enjoy watching in the streaming services. I have a Hulu account. I don't necessarily go there for original content. Netflix has some good original content, but then that runs out pretty quick. So HBO Max having Conan, I think, will be a big force to get people to, if they haven't already signed up, to either sign up or to borrow somebody's password. So. I think that's going to be good for HBO Max. I don't know that TBS is doing anything else right now other than Conan, so they're going to have to step it up after this.
Do you think they're going to hire George Lopez back? Do you think he's going to get his late night talk show slot back? Oh,
did you ever see? Did you see his new show? The new, I forget what it's called, but he had a new sitcom. It was pretty good. I would offer him another chance.
Because one of the things that I didn't like about the George Lopez show was that every single time he delivered a joke, it was set up, punchline. Set up, punchline.
But that's George Lopez.
Oh, you're killing me, dude. You're killing me. Just let the joke be the joke. Let it speak for itself. Don't tell me where the joke is.
Don't tell me I need to laugh.
Anyway, guys, big question for you is, what do you think of Conan O'Brien jumping ship from TBS over to HBO Max? Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think this is going to be catastrophic for TBS? Or do you think TBS has other things lined up? Do you think this is a good thing for TBS? What are your thoughts? Jump down as I swallow my spit in my mouth to the section. That was a horrible thing to say. Jump down to the comment section below.
Where else are you going to swallow it?
Well, I could just spit it out, I guess. Whoa! Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, our next bit of movie news is, I'm not going to lie, it's weird. It's weird. Academy Award winning director Spike Lee, with an incredible history behind him, has decided his next Spike Lee joint. This is baffling me. It's a Viagra musical. I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means. Like, you hear about this and you're like, no, this is a joke. First of all, Spike Lee isn't going to do a musical. Second of all, nobody's going to do a musical about Viagra. And last, Viagra is the last thing that Spike Lee needs in his life, because he's Spike Lee. Rolland, this is weird. This is just weird. This is real. 2020 is the strangest timeline, and now 2020 is bringing us news that Spike Lee's next movie is going to be a musical about Viagra.
And it's not a sequel to She's Gotta Have It?
I see what you did there. I see what you
there?
did there. Oh, that was perfect. How did I not think of it?
It took all of your introduction for me to come up with that.
That was wonderful. It should be. It should be.
I'm done. I have nothing else. Nothing else to give you.
What in the like? Why? Why would Spike Lee? I mean, he wouldn't agree to do something like this. It's not just that he agrees to do something like this. He's producing it. He's helping to write it. He's directing this thing. Obviously, he sees value and merit in this story. He sees a really interesting take on the material. And obviously, the material is going to be a metaphor for something deeper, right? In Five Bloods, it wasn't just about these friends going back to Vietnam to dig up some gold that they found during the Vietnam War. It wasn't just about them going back to dig up the body of their dead friend so that they could give him a proper burial. It was about friendship. It was about something deeper. It's about not being reacquainted with your ghost, but like confronting your ghost, confronting your demons. Like, what is it that is bothering you and possessing you? How do you become a better person for going on this journey? So the musical, while yes, on the surface, it's going to be a musical about Viagra and maybe like the process and the story of how that came to be and come to fruition, but there's going to be a deeper meaning here. Do you have any clue? What in this is? I don't know what to say about this. I
have two thoughts that are going through my head. Number one is Spike Lee has a history of making movies that, like you said, have that depth to it, that has some sort of reflection of what society is, has, showing aspects of society that maybe, others had not looked at, forcing us to kind of confront those things. He's got a history of these things. And so maybe there's something here that we're not seeing that Spike Lee is, that we're going to have our eyes open to. That's one thought. And another thought is, this could be awful. It could just be he's run out of ideas. Like, I don't know. On the surface, it sounds ludicrous. On the surface, it sounds ludicrous. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds like, how could this possibly pay off? On the other hand, it's Spike Lee. I kind of have to trust a little in his process, Well,
also, like, this is a horrible example. You may be able to come up with a better example than I am right now. But when we first heard that a Lego movie was in the works, everyone thought that's the dumbest idea. You're going to do a movie about building blocks. When The Social Network was announced, you're doing a Facebook movie? How are you going to do a movie about Facebook? That doesn't mean anything. So
when the first cartoon commercial for South Park came out, I remember watching it going, "Who asked for this?"
Yeah, it's such a strange, bizarre, and it's the premise that's grabbing us. And I think, when they say kind of like as I lose my words, like the whole idea of like, come for the blank, but stay for the blank, like come for the liquor, but stay for the friends, or come for the atmosphere and stay for the camaraderie, whatever it happens to be. This is gonna end up being more like a come for the bizarre premise, but stay for the intellectual lesson.
Yeah. Look, I also like to read, and I've had some favorite authors who I would read every new book, every new novel that came out. And at some point, I stopped really appreciating their books, and I said, okay, I'm now reading them because I've invested that much in them, and I've trusted them in the past, and they've really delivered. So I'm going to keep reading these new novels. And eventually I go, you know what? They're not producing the type of books that I still enjoy reading. I'm going to move on. And I think with directors and stuff, it's the same type of thing where like Spike Lee has earned my trust in this movie. Like it sounds like you said, it sounds like a bad idea, just like those others did. But he's given me enough really great stuff that I kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt and going, hey, it's Spike Lee. Let's see what he does. Maybe he lets me down. And maybe the next time another Spike Lee movie comes out like this, I'm going to go, I don't know. Remember the Viagra debacle? But right now, he doesn't have that. He's got a really good... He's got a good filmography under his belt.
He does. As you point out, not every one of his movies is a smash hit. Not everybody loves every movie that he's ever done, but he has enough under his belt that you're like, no. He's a solid filmmaker. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
And you, on a general level, know what to expect. Same thing like Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
I mean, not every one of his movies is incredible, but he's got enough there that you're like, no. He knows what he's doing, and I know what to expect from a Chris Nolan movie, from a Spike Lee joint, whatever. Big question is for you guys, what do you think of this wacky news of Spike Lee's next film being a Viagra musical? How is that going to work? What are your thoughts as to what the story could be? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know those thoughts. All right, guys, we have 2 more bits of movie news to cover as we move forward. And sorry, as I'm getting set up, I should have been set up earlier. All right, so our next bit of movie news as we move forward with 2 more bits of movie news to go. The Godfather, Coda. The death of Michael Corleone. The trailer just dropped yesterday. We knew that this was happening. There was very little news about what was happening. Here's the idea. We all know that The Godfather 3 is the weakest of the Godfather series, of the Godfather movies. It wasn't always intended, rather the story, as written and directed by Francis Ford Coppola, the story co-written by Mario Puzo, it didn't play out the way that Francis Ford Coppola had always kind of envisioned. And I guess this is stuck with him over the years. He didn't love his finished product of Godfather 3. And so now, on the 30th anniversary of Godfather 3, came out in 1990, 30 years ago, Francis Ford Coppola has gone through and re-edited this film, inserted footage that was cut from the film. He has touted a brand new ending, which I don't know how that's going to go down. I don't know how that's going to work. But he also did, Francis Ford Coppola put out kind of a press release video explaining that, like, the new re-edit completes his vision of what he thinks the trilogy should be. In fact, he doesn't even really see it as a trilogy. This movie is a coda to Godfather 1 and 2. In his mind, like, Godfather 1 and 2 are like a perfect set of movies by themselves. And the third film, Godfather 3, was never really intended to be a sequel to those. It was more of just like an epilogue. This is the bookend. This is the last little thing that kind of like, you can butt up against the last two. It can stand on the shelf just as powerful. And he feels that with this new edit, which should come out in theaters on December 4th, it'll be released on VOD and Blu-ray on December 8th. This is his completed vision that he feels this is what the movie always should have been. It should never have been Godfather 3, the continuation of the story. It should have been the conclusion, the epilogue. This is what happens after all the adventures go down. I think this is kind of an interesting concept. I think this is, I'm actually kind of interested to see this. As I saw the trailer didn't look any different to me from what I've seen in the original film, but then again, it's out of context. It's a trailer. A trailer just shows highlights of the film and gives you enough of the story so you understand what to expect when you watch the movie. I've already seen the movie, so I know what to expect. So the trailer doesn't give me any new information. But I will say, you guys, I'm kind of interested in seeing this new vision of Francis Ford Coppola, or rather his original vision, what his original vision was supposed to be, and not giving the film a new title, as he says in the featurette, but rather give the film its original title, which is The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone. Rolland, I know that you've seen both the trailer and the featurette. Do you think this is a good idea? Are you interested in this? Do you think this is going to take off?
My first, when I saw the headline, my first thought was, oh, this is George Lucas all over again, right? But it's totally different. And I think one of the reasons is George Lucas with Star Wars went back and added CGI, added, additional creatures in the background. And a lot of that was, it feels a little bit like flexing. A lot of that is kind of showing, I don't know, it might be pride and hubris. Although this could be pride and hubris also, this feels, because of the nature of the film, there's no CGI, and I don't think there's a lot of CGI in The Godfather. And I don't think he, deep faked anybody to recreate scenes. This feels more like a director's cut,
yeah.
Right? But also keep in mind that wasn't his daughter the director of the third film? Wasn't it Sofia Coppola?
I know she was in the film. Let me look it up and
or was she in the film? She might not. She might have been in it.
Keep going. I'm looking it up right now.
So I think because of the nature of the films, one is a science fiction movie that had, because that's my initial comparison. How can you not compare two people going back 30 years into their old work to modify it? But it's not a CGI thing. Which makes it a storytelling thing, right? And a storyteller going back and saying, this isn't quite the right story I wanted to tell. We all know that there are other forces at work in making a movie that goes beyond what the director and the writer and the actors want to do. There's a studio, there's the producers, there's the people who handle the money who end up making creative decisions, taking it out of the hands of the director. So I think seeing this storyteller, Francis Ford Coppola, going back and saying, this wasn't quite the ending to the story I wanted, and I'm going to finally make that ending, I think is actually, I'm really looking forward to walking through that door when it opens.
So I just looked it up. It is Francis Ford Coppola who originally directed Godfather 3.
He did. His daughter was in it. Sorry,
she did not direct.
She directed Lost in Translation. I apologize. I knew that she had something to do with it. She was
and also
in it.
The brand new Rashida Jones Bill Murray film.
Oh yeah,
looks
that's
great.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, Rolland. I think that when it's hard when you see the atrocities committed by George Lucas in the Star Wars films. It's an easy argument to say, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. We like it the way it is. But in terms of like Blade Runner, there's a lot of people that like the director's cut better. In fact, like there's 3 versions of Blade Runner. There are a lot of people that like the director's cut of Daredevil better than the theatrical version. There are a lot of people that like the director's cut of Batman versus Superman better than the original theatrical cut. So
hang on,
say what?
I'm jotting a note that there is a director's cut of Daredevil, and I need to watch that.
It's slightly
didn't know. Looking forward to it.
Still a bad movie. It's director's cut. It improves ever so slightly, and also I would say the director's cut of Fantastic Four, 2005's Fantastic Four, slightly better, but not by much. Yeah, I think looking at this, same thing with Apocalypse Now, and Francis Ford Coppola doing the director's cut of Apocalypse Now. I think this is going to be that kind of director's cut. I mean, he's calling it, the Godfather Coda, Death of
Coda, right.
Michael Corleone, taking it back to his original vision, which, and as you point out, there are so many forces at play when you're making a movie. It's not just the director and the scriptwriter. There's so many other people, so many other fingers in the sticky toffee pudding, so to speak. Sticky toffee pudding. That's all I want right now. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see this new vision. Question is for you guys: what do you think of the new Godfather Coda, the Death of Michael Corleone? Are you looking forward to seeing it? Are you going to see it? Are you going to go to theaters to see it? And I will be very honest. If I have an opportunity to go back to a movie theater on December 4th to see the Godfather Coda, the Death of Michael Corleone, I would love to. I've had wonderful experiences so far going back to the movie theaters. So I would actually very much like to see this in theaters. Would you like to see this in theaters? Are you going to see this in theaters? Are you going to wait for the release? All of that information together, jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, we have one last bit of movie news to get caught up on before we take your live questions. First and foremost, let me check in with Rolland. Rolland, I have you on retainer for about 60, 75 minutes. How are you doing on time, sir? You're good on time. Yeah. Okay.
I'm good. I'm enjoying this. I'm having a good time.
I love having you here. Just wanted to be respectful of your time, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for checking in.
All right, so our next bit of movie news, and our last bit of movie news, actually, this film has had some troubles. That is the film of Chaos Walking. If you've not heard of this film, you're probably better off for it. Not because it's a bad movie or it's turning out to look like an ugly situation, but this movie should have been in theaters 3 years ago. They started filming back in 2017. And boy, oh boy, have they had production issues. So here, let's jump into the article for a second. Now, there is a teaser trailer that just dropped last night. The actual full-length trailer will be dropping tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard, 6 a.m. West Coast time. I guess that's Pacific Standard. But the film Chaos Walking is directed by Doug Liman. If you're not familiar with Doug Liman's work, he directed Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge of Tomorrow, or whatever you want to call that movie. It goes by many names, many titles. This particular film has, like I said, it's had some production problems. There were, producers getting involved with the filmmaking. They had to come back and do reshoots, which is not uncommon for a movie of this size and this scope, to come back and do reshoots. But, Tom Holland being Peter Parker and Daisy Ridley being Rey Palpatine in the Star Wars universe, they've had busy schedules. They've had extremely busy schedules. So trying to get them back on set to film reshoots for this film has been a complete nightmare, not to mention all of the outside forces coming in. We were just talking about the headaches associated with making a film. When you get too many fingers in the sticky toffee pudding, it ruins the sticky toffee pudding, right? So, is that all you want right now?
Sticky toffee pudding.
So good. But yeah, guys, I mean, this is a movie that has been in production hell for a very long time. And now they've just dropped a teaser trailer yesterday. They're going to be coming out with the full trailer tomorrow, and it's based on it's a wacky sci-fi story as well. I guess there was a virus that ravaged this planet where all the women were killed. And for all the men, all of their thoughts manifest outside of their body. So anyone can just see what they're thinking, which is a very bizarre thought. It's a very bizarre premise. And then, of course, somehow space traveler Daisy Ridley crash lands on this planet, and now they go on through this rampant adventure to try and figure out the problem and fix it and blah, 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 whatever, right? Based on a YA book, a young adult book, kind of in the spirit of the Hunger Games or the Maze Runner, Twilight, something along those lines. I don't know, Rolland, like this, all of these moving pieces together, the one thing that I will say that attracts me to this film is Doug Liman, the director of the film, Doug Liman. I like his work. And now that I've paused for extremely long dramatic effect, I don't know what else to say. Like, everything else looks a little disjointed, a little jumbled. I don't know. Where do you stand here?
So I couldn't name anything else that Doug Liman has done by his name. I did see Live, Die, Repeat or Edge of Tomorrow, and I think it's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go check that out. It's such a great movie. I know people like to give it a hard time because it's a Tom Cruise film, but it's fantastic. I don't know why people give Tom Cruise such a hard time. That's a different. Let me know when you have that episode, and I'll join you again.
You got it.
I knowing that the director of Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat, whatever you want to call it, is the director of this, makes me go, okay, it's in good hands in terms of that aspect. And I like Daisy Ridley in the Star Wars saga. And I really like Tom Holland. I have to say, Tom Holland is the current celebrity who, if I could be him, he's the one I would choose to be. If I could be the celebrity, it'd be Tom Holland right now. So I haven't watched anything of Tom Holland's that I don't go, God, the guy's good. So Tom Holland, maybe a little bit of a man crush on Tom Holland. Maybe a little bro crush.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
You got a brush on him.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
So Tom Holland, Daisy Ridley, Doug Liman, those three things sound great. Unfortunately, when you started this segment and you talked about all the issues with it and the trying to get the reshoots, and of course those two being such busy actors, getting them back together, the first thing that popped in my head was New Mutants.
Yes, same.
Right, New Mutants, and when a project has so many starts and stops, and you have to go back and tinker and retinker. I haven't seen that ever end up being something great. So, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic with this film.
I think
it has the parts.
That's a good way to take it. Cautiously optimistic. You're right. I mean, anytime that you tinker with something too long over too long of a span period, too often maybe, it just sometimes you can overcook the sticky toffee pudding a little bit. I'm going to stick with this analogy because I love sticky toffee pudding.
It's a good analogy.
If anybody out there knows where to get a really great sticky toffee pudding, can you please put it in the comment section below? I would very much appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, this sticky toffee pudding, also known as chaos walking, I'm interested. Like, the premise seems weird, but then again, so does a Viagra musical by Spike Lee. That sounds weird, but I'm interested in it.
Well, and there's a TV show coming out based on the comic book series or the graphic novel series, Why the Last Man, where all the men die. You're not aware of that? So there's a graphic novel called Why, as in like the chromosome, Why the Last Man, and it is about all of a sudden all the men on Earth just die all at once, and except for one. And it's the story of what happens and what happens to him, and there's all these other characters and stuff, and it's phenomenal. And it's being turned into, they're currently casting the series, So that's going to come out. So this seems a little bit like on the opposite end of like, oh, well, in this world, so it's a storyline that's out there.
Hmm.
So that's kind of cool that we've got these, one in television, one in movies. One is the men and one is women. It's going to be interesting to see the parallels or how they differ.
That's kind of fascinating.
Throwing
That's kind
that
of fascinating. But yeah, I would love to see how. But that's a common trend in Hollywood is that whenever we get like one premise, there's usually multiple premises, like Deep Impact versus Armageddon,
Yep.
Shazam versus Captain Marvel. Oh man, like look at all the disaster movies that happened in the 70s, like the Poseidon Adventure and the Towering Inferno, and like it just, this is a common theme that keeps happening over and over and over again. Look at all the spy thrillers that happen.
A Bug's Life, and Ants came out like the same summer.
Sure did.
Yeah.
So I would be very interested to see how all of that shakes out. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested by this property. Probably on the same level that I was interested in Hunger Games. And I'll be honest, you guys, I've only ever seen the first Hunger Games movies. Okay, it was fine. I think I know what I'm missing, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, I'm probably going to go see Chaos Walking, if for nothing else, just to see Roland's man crush and Daisy Ridley. I will be honest, when Force Awakens first came out, boy, oh boy, did I have a screen crush on Daisy Ridley.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Sure.
But the question is for you guys, what do you think of Chaos Walking? Is this a film that you're looking forward to? I mean, this has been in production hell for a very long time. And now that we're kind of starting to get, or rather they are starting to get out of that production debacle and actually putting some stuff out there, do you have high hopes for the film? Are you moderately excited? Where are you? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, so that pretty much does it for the main portion of the show. You guys have been firing in some questions and comments throughout the show, and now this is the portion where we're just going to take your live questions. So let's go ahead and do that now.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Live questions and comments throughout the show. So let's get Rolland back up on screen here, and let's just start scrolling through the live feed and see what we have. And our first comment is from Matthew Wiles, all the way over in the UK, in Leeds in the UK. And Matthew says, you might stop me from watching your lives, but I have never seen any of the Godfathers. Matthew, what are you doing with your life? Is the question that I need to put back at you. I mean, again, I get it. All film is subjective. Not everybody's going to love everything ever. I am not in love with the Godfather films. If we're talking like kind of organized crime, mobster, mob family type movies, Casino is my favorite. Casino, and probably very, very quickly followed up with The Departed by Martin Scorsese. Actually, Scorsese did both those films. So, I mean, those are my top two favorite kind of like mob family movies. The Godfather is like the golden standard, I feel like. It's classic. I think I preferred the first one over the second one. I know a lot of people prefer the second one over the first one. It's universally acknowledged that the third is the weakest of the bunch, but it also happens to be my mother's favorite of the Godfather films. Rolland, where do you stand with the Godfather trilogy, and would you recommend that they are must-see movies for Matthew?
Oof. All right. It's a good question. I think I don't see how you could watch necessarily The Godfather today in 2020 and get the impact that you would have when it came out. Like there's some movies you just can't do that. But I will. So I don't know that it necessarily needs to be seen, but I do think there are, like, if someone put together a list of movies that said, you know what, you might not get the same thing out of it, but just to have the knowledge of what the movie is, so you can talk about it when people bring it up on a segment on a YouTube channel. Maybe I would definitely put Godfather 1 and 2. And the thing about Godfather that I think makes it such a classic is that, like Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, it's very rare that a second film is considered as good as the first. We were just talking about Creed and Creed 2, how Creed 2 is nowhere near as good as Creed. It's good, not as good as the first one, but a lot of people believe that Godfather 2 is the Empire Strikes Back to Star Wars. And so that alone kind of makes it worthy of checking out, even if it's not, you're not going to get, hit as hard, I think.
No, yeah, so. I'd agree with that.
Then again, Matthew lives in Leeds, England, so if he never ends up watching it, the chances of us finding out are slim. You can get away with it, Matthew.
That's fair. That's true. Yeah. I mean, I always feel like there's a certain cultural impact. Like, try understanding a lot of the references that people just use in daily life and never having seen Star Wars. It's kind of along those lines. Completely different movie from Star Wars, but you see where I'm going with this analogy. Matthew goes on to say, to catch up, please, Hollywood and Disney, no CGI Boseman. Last thing we need is a full-size Henry Cavill mustache. Ooh, that is a deep cut.
I think we just found my 2021 Halloween costume.
Oh, man.
Life-size Henry Cavill mustache.
Yeah. If you don't know specifically what Matthew is referring to, in the Justice League film, they had to do so Justice League and Mission Impossible Fallout were being filmed at the same time. Now, Henry Cavill was starring in both films. In Mission Impossible, Henry Cavill had a mustache. In Justice League, playing Superman does not have a mustache. So instead of waiting until the production for Mission Impossible was over, Warner Brothers said, no, we need Henry Cavill to do reshoots right now. We will not wait for him to finish Mission Impossible and then shave his mustache. We'll just have him film it, and then we'll digitally remove his mustache. And it looks bad. It looks so bad. Rolland, I think that would be a perfect Halloween costume. Can we make this like a thing where like everybody just like does it? It's like the new like Ghostbusters costume every year.
Let's do it.
That'd be wonderful.
It's 2021.
That'd be wonderful.
I'll jump on that bandwagon.
I always say Tori. Gosh darn it. Tony Bori. Tony, my apologies. It's your last name. I just like the alliteration of saying Tori Bori, but it's Tony. My apologies. And I know it's Tony. I've known you for years. Tony says, I'm digging the mic. Thank you, sir. This is a Rode. If anybody is into like voice acting or anything, this is a Rode NT1A particular microphone. I really enjoy the sound from it. This was recommended to me by a fellow voice acting friend of mine who lives here in New York City, Andy Danish. Andy is actually, he's been on the show before. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to voice acting and equipment that you should get and use. And even though I did not follow his advice in my audio interface, I like my audio interface just fine. I'll probably end up upgrading. It was a calculated risk, but one that whatever. So I'll probably upgrade that. But I'm loving this particular microphone, the Rode NT1A. I think it retails for around $350, something like that. So it is an investment, but it's also not so expensive that you're going to go bankrupt from buying a microphone. So if you're looking for like a really great microphone, great sound, I highly recommend it. Are there any particular microphones that you use in your life, Rolland, or have you?
Well, I'm also a voice actor, and I at home I use a Shure mic, Shure.
Shure makes great mics.
It was the first mic I tried out, and I went, I love how I sound on this. I don't need to change a thing. And it's possible that there is a better mic out there for my voice, but I've been really happy with the work that it's done.
What I love about
But I think your voice sounds phenomenal.
Dude, thank you. What I love about Shure mics is that maybe this is just on like the super high-end Shure mics, but I've noticed that even in a large open air space, they seem to condense your voice perfectly. Like there's very little sound of the room that bleeds into the microphone. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, it's been
They're
great.
fantastic.
Yeah. Now I don't think I have as much knowledge as your friend Andy. Yeah. And I noticed that Tony didn't mention what I'm using, but just in case, it's the one that comes with the Samsung Galaxy S7. It also goes for $350. That's $3.50, easily purchasable through Amazon.
Sorry, I'm looking at the comment where Tony says, "I'm digging the mic." It's very possible he's not referring to the Rode. He might actually be referring to the Samsung headphone mic.
It does the job, Tony. If you want that, I'd be glad to send the Amazon link.
Matthew Wiles goes on to say, Transformers 7, more excited for it. More than excited for it. Can't wait. I think the same thing that we're going to say about Chaos Walking. I'm cautiously optimistic. I love the concept of franchise. I love the concept of Transformers, I think, more than I actually like the movies. And I think that's definitely says something to the social consciousness and to the strength of the property too, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not getting my hopes up. Every time that they make a new Transformers movie, I think maybe this one could be good, and they just fail over and over and over again. Bumblebee being the exception.
Bumblebee was
quite good.
I enjoyed it. Really
completely different director, completely different script writer. They took Michael Bay out of the equation altogether, and they delivered a film that was actually enjoyable. And it wasn't this modge podge of color and mess just like rolling around on screen. Like you can actually decipher when the robots are hitting each other and fighting. It was interesting.
Yeah, they streamlined the designs of the Transformers. They streamline it, and it's a lot easier to see, and it makes it, to me, more enjoyable.
Visually interesting as opposed to just garbled mess.
A mess.
Yeah. Tony Borey says, a movie theater? What's that? How do you explain this? A movie theater is...
I mean, it's a building.
It's a building where people go and film.
It doesn't come to you. I know they might have had ones in the past that came to you, but you go to this building.
Well, I think that's in style now.
Right.
I think that's because if you have you have a television. If you're watching the show, it's on a screen of some kind.
And a movie theater will have one of those, but on a bigger scale. I think.
It's massive.
It's huge. It's really huge.
Because your phone is what, like 5 inches by 2 inches or 3 inches, something like that?
Yeah. Not that big.
A computer screen is maybe like 13 or 15 inches in diameter, but a movie theater screen.
I mean, they're big.
It's like the size of an entire wall, if not bigger. Like the whole side of a house. Right. They're huge.
And some movie theaters, and who was that? That was Matthew. Some movie theaters,
that was Tony.
Matthew. That was Tony? You're right. That was Tony. Some movie theaters, Tony, they will actually sell you food and drink that you could take in with you in case, during the 2.5 hours of the movie or 1.5 hours, you end up getting thirsty or hungry.
Well, there's also fancy ones. There's fancy ones where you can order at your seat and they will bring food and drink to your seat.
2021, man. It's the future. It's the future happening right now.
So, if we invest properly, I think this movie theater thing is going to take off. I think people are going to get behind it.
I hope it's not a fad. I hope it's got a legitimate following.
It could. It has the potential. Invest now. Invest now. You know what? We're being very tongue-in-cheek about this whole thing, but the reality is that in the real world, Pfizer, when they announced that they have a potential vaccine, they have a vaccine with a 90% accuracy.
95%.
It's 95? There you go. 95%. The stock of AMC theaters rose 80%. The day Pfizer announced that they had a vaccine that was 90% effective, Now it's 95% effective, but AMC theater stock rose 80%.
Wow.
That is incredible. Incredible.
Did you buy some AMC stock when it was down?
Dude, this is my entire income for the year.
Oh, that's a good income, man. That's not bad.
If it wasn't all wrapped up in a two-faced coin, I may have. Matthew Weil says, let me expand the comment. Chaos walking looks so weird. Excuse me. I've been having a little too much of the bubbly. Chaos walking looks so weird. I want to like it, but I somehow hate it.
That was fast.
It's only a 15-second announcement trailer. I think it's because I'm predisposed to not like it because of all the problems it's had. Well, that's something you actually brought up, is that it has had so many problems, and I think we're kind of comparing it to the New Mutants. I mean, that's the most recent of memory properties, but, anytime, as you point out, Rolland, anytime a film has it gets delayed for years, it's hard to trust. It's hard to get behind a project like that.
I can't think of a time that it worked, where I went like, so worth the wait.
There was one example.
Please.
Taron Egerton. The Secret Service movie. The sequel is called The Golden Circle.
Yeah. The Gentlemen of the Colin Firth film, the Samuel L. Jackson movie.
Directed by Matthew Vaughn. What's the name of it?
Yes.
The Kingsman. Kingsman.
The Kingsman. That was a movie that was tinkered with a lot.
It was scheduled for, I want to say, it was like a summer release or like a late summer, early fall release, and they pushed it back 6 months to like January, February, and we all kind of went, "Oh no, what's wrong with it?" Oh, they had to do reshoots. They had to re-edit the film. And it was one of those situations that we looked at and was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And then it came out and we're like, and also it went from a late summer release, like, hey, this is going to be one of the summer blockbusters, to either January or February. This was before Deadpool came out. Before February was like, hey, really great movies can come out in the winter. Not this year. And you pushed it back to January, February, and oh no, that's the death spot for movies. That was a killer film.
It was a good movie.
Really solid.
The sequel wasn't, but that initial one was great.
I liked the sequel. It wasn't great, but I enjoyed it.
I'm not saying it wasn't entertaining, but compared to the first one, I was expecting more. Now, isn't there a third film coming out that's about the origins?
Prequel, The King's Man. Yes.
Yeah, see, that looked good. I'm all set to watch
Ray
that.
Fiennes, man. How can you go wrong with Lord Voldemort in your movie?
You can't.
Sorry, can't be done.
Can't be done.
And that, I think, does it for our live comments, you guys. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation. Thanks so much for spitting your 2 cents, everyone. Jumping down to the comment section below and letting me know your thoughts. Rolland, huge thank you, sir, for being on the show today.
Mike, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for inviting me. Really appreciate it. It was great being here.
Can't wait to do this again. I love your insight.
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of feel like we have very similar viewpoints on things, and we look at things from different analytical perspectives, so it's not always just so cut and dry.
I enjoy this so much. I said to myself, I wish I had thought of this before Mike had. That's how good this is. So seriously.
Well, now that you've done this, you have to do my improvised escape room whenever we get that up off the ground.
I've actually done over 50. I've done over 50 real escape rooms.
Wow.
And my girlfriend and I celebrated our 2nd year anniversary during COVID. And I made her an escape room in my apartment. That took months to put together and figure out. And then I had to keep her out of the house so I could set everything up. Yeah. So I will gladly be part of an improvised escape room. Absolutely.
That is such a cool idea. Because I've been looking for kind of like a fun, not weird thing, but like interesting or different thing to do with my own girlfriend, Kim. We're always like, because we keep planning trips together, but now in a COVID world, we can't go on trips. So doing an escape room in the apartment sounds awesome.
So I videotaped it and I condensed it down to a short video. I will link it on your on this Facebook post. If you want to check it out, you can see exactly what I did, and it took a lot of work for me to put that together. I'm not a very crafty individual. I'm not good at stuff like that, so it takes me much longer than the average person. But I'll put that link up there.
So cool! Oh, I'm really excited to see this now, because now this is something that I desperately want to do.
And with all the stuff that you have behind you, I'm sure you can easily come up with some really fun puzzles.
Speaking of puzzles, this is not something that I normally do. Here, let me change my camera perspective. See this puzzle up on the wall? That is a 3,000-piece Marvel poster. Yeah, it's 4 feet by 3 feet. It's hard to see at this particular angle. It's 4 feet by 3 feet, 3,000 pieces. It took us 2 months to put this thing together.
That's
this thing
awesome.
is a beast, man. Beast.
And Beast is on there, I'm sure.
He's not. No. It's omitting all the X-Men and all the Fantastic Four properties.
What? Because they're. Is this movie related? No, it's not movie related.
No, it's not movie related. I think it was because in the comics they started ending the Fantastic Four run and various X-Men runs during certain periods of production of the films. Okay. And so I think this was a potential carryover from that era where they just omitted.
So are there Inhumans? Are there Inhumans in there?
Inhumans are there, yes.
Okay. All right. So they replaced the mutants with
Yeah, nobody cares about the Inhumans. I'm sorry to say, but nobody does. Yeah.
I have seen almost every single Marvel property, movie, television series, with very few exceptions. Season 2 of what's the one with the kids on Hulu?
The Runaways. Yeah.
Season 2 of The Runaways I haven't seen, and I haven't seen the Punisher series on Netflix yet. But I also have not seen. But I've seen everything else. But I will not probably ever see the Inhumans.
Gross. Same.
We'll never.
I would argue, potential argument. We all know how great the Daredevil Netflix series was. I would actually maybe contend, for my own personal sensibilities, the Punisher series may be better.
Really?
That's just me.
I will check it out. I will eventually get to it.
I also love Punisher. Was my first. It wasn't my first comic, but it was the first comic book I ever bought. Punisher 2099 actually, and that was we were in it, man. Like Punisher was my jam back in the 90s. Loved it.
I remember the 2099 series. I remember buying Spider-Man 2099 and yeah, that was very cool. They even brought in 2099 in the Miles Morales film. The Spider-Verse.
At the very end, they did. Very interesting.
Very end, they brought 2099 in there.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Anyway, Rolland, where can people find you online, and what projects do you have coming up in the near future?
I'm. I know you've got me listed there as at Rolland Lopez voice actor. That's my Instagram page, and I do have some voice acting things there. But I also mention on there, you'll see my improv team, Rollin Enriches, ROLLIN apostrophe. Enriches. You and I met in Alaska, by the way. Let me close that loop right now. Yeah, we met in Alaska several years ago where I was doing my duo with Rich Baker. We have a YouTube channel of our own, Rollin Enriches, and I have just started my own series of videos called There's Great Improv Everywhere. I take a video recording of another team's improv show, pull out little clips, and go, this is why that moment is so great. So,
wow,
if you're an improviser or you have any interest in improv, please check that out.
That's awesome.
Rollin and Riches,
please send me those links so I can embed them in the description of all of these videos. That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
I will do that.
And again, Rolland, thank you again so much for being on the show.
I loved it. Really had a great time, Mike. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, guys, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Tom Holland would want you to do from Chaos Walking. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. You guys, we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness into the world today, if you have an opportunity to speak kind words to each other, please take those opportunities. And in the words of the great Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you guys tomorrow.